Quest Diagnostics Training Center. Giants General Manager Jerry Reese just had his pre-draft press conference, and I'm going to give you my three takeaways. My three biggest takeaways from today were, number one is the Giants are still putting together their board. There's still work to go, still work to be done a week before the draft. They haven't taken anybody off the board completely yet for off-the-field reasons. That's not something they've gotten to yet. All their personnel people are down there putting the guys in order. They went over a lot of the medical stuff yesterday, so that's going to come together now in the next week of which guys they're not going to take. They're pretty much all graded in order, but now they're going to start whittling it down. Get rid of guys that are completely off the board, that are not in consideration at all. Guys like Miles Jack, who might come into the equation with his knee injury. Number two is right tackle. Jerry Reese was asked where they stand at right tackle. And what did he say? He said the answer sometimes is on your roster, which makes you think, made me think at least, Bobby Hart. I asked specifically, Bobby Hart, guard, last year's 7th round pick, Bobby Hart is, guard or tackle. He said he's a guy that they think can play both ways. So Bobby Hart, watch out for him at right tackle. And number three, my third takeaway from here, is the fact that Jerry Reese, we had asked specifically about age, said age isn't really a factor for these guys when they're putting together their draft board. Leonard Floyd, linebacker out of Georgia, going to be 24 years old. That might come into play with him. The fact that Jerry thinks that they can get guys, as long as you get 4, 5, 6 years out of guys, it's not that big a deal unless there's a guy in the draft who's 30 years old. Obviously, that guy, they're not going to have a lot of consideration for. I'm Jordan Raanan, here from the Quest Diagnostics Training Center.